right. All right. I am standing here with Northern Lights woman. Can I get you to say that? How you originally introduced yourself to me? And I'm going to assume that you are indigenous.
Yes.
What tribe or nation are you from?
I'm Northern Cheyenne and Oglala Lakota.
Why did you want to be here tonight?
To tell everyone, including the state of Minnesota and the United States, that this is Indian land. This is Dakota Makoche. That's what my sign says, Dakota Makoche, which means this is Dakota land.
And I don't think it takes a genius to figure out why that would be relevant to a protest about immigration and everything that's happening in this country right now. But spell it out for me. Why was it important for you to come out here and deliver this message that this is Dakota land?
Because the United States has come over here and they've forcibly waged war on indigenous people since 1492. And so we've been out here for the past 500 plus years fighting the United States. On my other side, I wrote Custer Killers. 6/25/1876. The United Tribes of the Northern Cheyenne, the Oglala Lakota, and the Northern Arapaho defeated the United States in battle at the Battle of Greasy Grass. It was Cheyenne women that drove awls into Custer's ears because he refused to listen. He refused to respect indigenous people. So we come as a warning to all politicians, to all representatives of the United States. What happens when you don't listen to indigenous women, to Cheyenne women? We will drive awls into your ears until you listen. From beyond the grave into the spirit world. Listen to what we're saying. Dear Dakota Makoche, this is always will be Dakota land. The state of Minnesota came onto indigenous land and provoked itself and waged war against us. We see it happen with the Line 3 pipeline. We see it happen now with the separation of families. This is a continuation of the genocide of indigenous people. That this is a direct correlation of what the United States is and has always represented.
The protest is moving on, so would you be comfortable talking and walking here so we can keep up here? So, I mean, I'm certainly feeling the passion, feeling the emotion coming off of you, but can you describe for people when the emotion, the passion that you are feeling, what's going through your mind, what's going through your heart in this moment as you're watching what's been playing out in this country for centuries and still playing out today?
I think of the next 7 generations. I think of my babies. I think of my nieces and nephews, my future grandchildren, because this is the land, this is what they're going to inherit. So it is my inherent responsibility. This is my spiritual responsibility to be out here standing with my relatives, for those who have to stay home, for those who can't be out here, to be able to speak. We have to be able to use our intellect, our minds, our voices, our prayers to be able to stand with one another. Because separation is what they want, so unity is what we will give them.
I have asked a lot of people in this crowd tonight what justice looks like in the wake of Renee Good's killing. And I have had to acknowledge that I don't think that there's probably any way you make a community whole for the death of even a single person, let alone adding on 500 years of genocide on top of that. But what would justice look like here in this country, to your mind? What needs to happen to even begin to make this country, to make the people here whole?
Land back. Following indigenous leadership and stewardship, indigenous people hold almost 80%
camp, and I really feel like using Noom GLP-1 is going to help me develop the positive habits.
To the land
needs to happen to even begin to make this country, to make the people here whole.
Land back. Following indigenous leadership and stewardship, indigenous people hold almost 80% of the world's biodiversity. And that alone should attest to our connection to the land, our connection to preserving it, to making sure that our children inherit something well, inherit something good. And that includes the relationships that we hold with one another as people who occupy this land, as people who inherited it ourselves. It is our spiritual responsibility to one another to listen and to show up and to respect each other's existence. That Renee Good was someone we cannot let that fear separate us. We cannot let that fear stop us into coming out and to supporting one another. Because she is just one voice that falls under thousands and thousands of other names, of other spirits, of other peoples, of other families that have been affected by not only this, but the 500 years plus years of resistance, of violence that we've occurred. So this is just a continuation on.
Just a continuation. I mean, how do you even follow that? I mean, when you start to talk, thank you guys, when you saw what happened to Renee Good, just your initial reactions, what were you feeling? What were you thinking?
I was praying for her family. I was thinking of her partner. I was thinking of her children. I was thinking of all her relatives who will be affected, of not only her name, but all of the other martyrs that have lost their lives because of this violence. So like I said, I honor who she was. I honor her family and her children especially, because they're going to live with the effects of what that officer did, of what that ICE agent did by taking her life in broad day in a community, in a residential area, a block away from a high school. I mean, like, to see how close that this violence is to our children and what's affecting them, we think about them in these times.
And the response that you've seen from the Trump administration, saying that they were only going to ramp up their operations here, send 1,000 more agents to follow up on the already cruel policies that they are carrying out here in the Twin Cities and in Minnesota. What do you think the message that the federal government is attempting to send to the people that it is trying to govern here?
The same message that it's continued on since its inception was force is violence and of taking. So it's just continuing on its legacy of lies, of stealing. I mean, theft. I mean, it's in the legacy of what the United States is and has always been. So I think they're upholding very well of what the United States was intended to do.
Lights woman, we covered a lot here in just a few minutes that we've been talking. We've covered 500 years of history. Is there anything else that you would want to add while you have this platform?
Yes. I urge each and every person who is listening to me, who's out here watching, to educate yourself, educate your families, to have those hard conversations, to tap into your inner human emotion of connection, of empathy, to see what's happening and to take action. I urge each and every one of you to learn about the doctrine of discovery and the papal bulls that gave life to it. It is the core foundation of not only the United States, but international law as a whole, that indigenous people in the United States simply only hold occupancy. And so under these doctrines that were decrees put on by the Catholic Church in the 14 and 1500s, which established what colonization is around the world. And so I urge each and every one of you to learn about it, to talk about it, and to educate yourself and your future generations, because it's truly that what it's going to take, thinking about the children and educating ourselves and teaching them accordingly. The Battle of Greasy Grass. It was Cheyenne women that drove all into Custer's ears because he refused to listen. He refused to respect indigenous people. So we come as a warning to all politicians, to all representatives of the United States. What happens when you don't listen? So I say, Wopi Latonka, Ichichie, for each and every one of you for listening. And I urge you all to stand up and fight back. So I say, Wopi Latonka, Ichichie, for each and every one of you for listening. And I urge you all to stand up and fight back. So I say, Wopi Latonka, Ichichie, for each and every one of you for listening. And I urge you all to stand up and fight back.
So you see, folks, putting this in perspective, I've been talking here about how the shooting of Renee Good was not a story of a few minutes that played out in a social media video clip. It wasn't a story of that day or just a few days that have happened since. We said, then you started to tell me about some of your personal history. First, I guess, before we get into that, can you just spell your name for me really quick?
L-U-K-A.
Thank you very much. Can you start to go through that personal history again and how it relates to how you're feeling tonight?
Yeah, I have spent over 30 months in Iraq and Afghanistan, over 5 months in Haiti, over 5 months in Uganda. I am a combat veteran. I have a combat medic badge. I have served this country with honor, and what I see and have seen the last few days with my own eyes has made me enraged to the point where I want to do violence. And I won't do that because that's what they want. And like I was saying earlier, HSI is the most trained part of the DHS. They do embassy security. They do a lot of investigations. For them to come out and protect white nationalists, insane, insane.
Luca's making reference to something that we saw out at the Whipple Federal Building, where ICE is staging many of its operations here, where the Department of Homeland Security's agents, in this case, the agency being HSI, those agents acting as de facto security for right-wing provocateurs who were coming out to taunt the peaceful protesters. And we showed through our coverage, we were showing through our coverage how these agents were acting as essentially private security because of the way they were brutalizing the peaceful protesters and yet protecting the right-wing provocateurs. And that seemed to that resonated with you. Can you explain exactly why?
It's insane that they want to categorize Renee Good as a domestic terrorist, yet people that spout hate, they want a white America. I listen to this guy spew all this hatred towards anything that's not white. If you look around here, we have all nationalities. The only thing in common that we have is fuck ICE. Get them out. Leave. And I personally know a couple of ICE agents that are here. And they hate it, but unfortunately they have bills to pay. And that's the choice and the morality they went. And I don't agree with it. And I know deep down they don't agree with it. After the shooting, I was down there. And I looked at the police, and I apologize that they were getting verbally assaulted because of what Jonathan Ross did, murdered someone. Just as easy. I, amongst my friends, am called a lunatic because I think it was premeditated murder. I feel deep down that guy was going to shoot someone sooner or later. The fact that he got ran over and dragged 300 yards, but in the report it was 50 yards or something like that. So he didn't fire then, neither did the other agents.
will tell you, you don't come from a blind side and go in front of a vehicle. He released his own cell phone footage. That didn't show him getting hit.
Yeah, it showed him after he killed.
It showed the impact of his phone hitting his chest. What happened was he shot someone, and hey, I hate to admit this.
Whoa, we got police moving in here. We got police who are moving into the crowd here. Pushing people back away from an MPD, from a Minneapolis Police Department squad